I am furious. Hey, everybody. Chipotle is raising their prices, including the price on my favorite burrito. Yes, I've got a cut on my finger with a weird bit of paint tape covering up or holding on the band-aid because the band-aid kept coming off. So you see this blue thing. It's just me was an idiot with the knife in the kitchen. Anyways, Chipotle raising their prices. And Chipotle is one of my favorite places to eat. I think the first time I went there was about 20 years ago when I lived in Tucson, Arizona, 2003, sometime that year. And I went to Chipotle and fell in love with it ever since. Just the taste of the grilled. Anyways, Chipotle plans price increases this year after pausing hikes this year. Chipotle plans price increases after pausing hikes this year. Chipotle's pausing hikes? Are they talking about the Fed? This is out of CNBC. Chipotle will raise menu prices again, citing inflation. The burrito chain had paused price hikes for more than a year after 3 rounds of raising menu prices in 13 months. Well, their inflation excuse isn't holding much water now. Yes, prices are still going up, but prices of certain items, food items, has actually went down. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes here. Inflation has cooled, but prices for many goods and services are still rising, just at a slower pace. Now, you know how we talked about some of the deceptive headlines on the CPI numbers, the inflation numbers, trying to convince people that prices are coming down. Well, overall, they're not. If you look at a few things, yes, prices are coming down in a few areas here and there, including some food items. We're going to talk about that here. But there's a article out here out of CNBC. Deflation is the anti-inflation. Here's where prices fell in September in one chart. All right, so we're going to talk about what fell. Prices fell. This is a 1-year comparison, year over year. Eggs down over 14%. Does anyone believe that? Oranges down 4%, butter down 4%, milk down 3.6%. Chicken parts, okay, so just chicken, I guess, 3.3%. What else is there besides chicken parts? You mean a whole chicken's not coming down, but if you chop it up into parts, then prices are coming down. Anyways, breakfast sausage down 3%. Fresh fish and seafood down 3%. Cheese and lettuce both 2.8%. Potatoes 2.1%. Frozen fish and seafood down 1.8%. Very, very nice, right? So again, people say I never have good news. Here's your good news right here. The question is, are you noticing this in the prices you pay at the restaurant or at the drive-thru or at the grocery store? Are you noticing much of this at all? I did notice eggs coming down a little bit here. So why is Chipotle raising their prices if prices are coming down in general for food? Well, a lot of it has to do with labor costs, right? Labor costs. You see all these strikes happening, a lot of different people demanding higher wages to keep up with the cost of living, of course. Can't blame them, right? Why do we see so many strikes now? Hollywood, delivery companies were striking, the auto workers, of course. The latest has been I read one about pharmacy workers striking. There's so many out there, I can't even keep track of all the strikes right now. Why are so many people striking? Because of the cost of living. If the cost of living was really coming down, why would we see so many people striking? It doesn't make sense, right? So part of Chipotle's operating expense, obviously, is salaries and wages. So when people demand higher wages, then that's going to be the restaurant passing along the higher wage cost to you and I, the customer. Simple, right? So what's going on with Chipotle? Well, let's read more into this article here. Quote, for the first time in over a year, we'll be taking a modest price increase to offset inflation. Chipotle Chief Corporate Affairs Officer Lori Shalo said in a statement on CNBC. After peaking last June, inflation has cooled. Prices for many goods and services are still rising at a slower pace. 12-month consumer price index 3.7. Yes, we know that. In August, after climbing to 8.3% a year earlier. That's the thing here. We're comparing this inflation number to a year ago when it was over 8%. So comparing something to a awful number like 8% is pretty easy to beat that number. But here's the thing. Prices are still up about 3.7% compared to the 8% last year. So now over 2 years, we're up about, 11, 12%. And that's just the CPI number. Look at all the things that doesn't get included in CPI. when we look at the real costs for everyday Americans around the world too, but also here in America, we see that it's much, much higher. Some people even say it's about 3 to 4 times higher than the CPI number. So instead of 3.7, we're looking at about what 14%, somewhere around there, right? Enormous, enormous cost of living, right? But let's look at what a famous economist has said, and his name is Paul Krugman, and I think he's pretty much off of his rocker here. But here's what he said. He put this out in a recent post. The war on inflation is over. This is what he said. The war on inflation is over. We won at very little cost. Interesting choice of words there from Paul Krugman, right? We won at very little cost. Well, inflation means you pay more for everything. So how did we win at very little cost? It was a lot of cost, right? Just look at the prices at the pump, look at everything else. But here's what he's getting ridiculed for from some people commenting on his post and stuff like that. The war on inflation is over is what he said. He posted this chart. Let me put it up here. CPI excluding food, energy, shelter, and used cars. Do you know anyone that can get by without purchasing any of these things? Food, energy, shelter, or used cars? I don't know anybody. This is the 6-month change in inflation. Now, if you look back at the chart we just showed you a few minutes ago, yes, there are some food prices coming down, but is it enough to offset all the items and prices and goods that are higher? Well, with all these people demanding higher wages now, companies, including Chipotle, are going to raise their prices to try to keep employers or to try to keep their workers. And when one company is raising their wages, you're going to see a lot of people want to leave their job and possibly go to the company paying more. So then that puts pressure on the other companies to raise their wages as well to keep the workers from leaving or to try to entice them to stay. So what do you think about Paul Krugman's comments here? We won the war on inflation at very little cost. First of all, this guy, Krugman's probably got millions of dollars. I have to look up and see what his net worth is. It's easy for someone with multi millions to say that the war on inflation is over and that we won it, right? So is he out of touch? What do you think about that? Please let me know down in comments. Now, back to Chipotle for a minute. I think the food there is so good that I think they can pretty much raise their prices and the customers will still continue to come in the door there. Let's talk about the stock, though. The Chipotle stock's up about 30% this year, and the stock's pretty amazing. I mean, I wish I would have bought when I first discovered Chipotle, and I really wish I would have bought. I know this is a shoulda, coulda, woulda story. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I wish I would have bought Chipotle stock when I first discovered Chipotle and realized how good the food was. But I don't think I really invested too much back then. I had a 401k, but really didn't invest too much on my own. I don't even think I had an E-Trade account back then. Anyways, nice gain stock if you would have sat in that stock and kind of rode it up to where it is now. In fact, let's take a look and see where it's at today. Wow, 1,781 in 2003. Looks like they didn't go public until 2006, so I couldn't have bought it in 2003. This stock started off in the $40 range, right? So there's an example of how you can make some pretty good money if you sit and hold stocks. Now, what I like to do, I like to have cash on the sidelines in case I see prices come down. So if I see Chipotle come down by 50%, I might dip in to get a buy. But right now at these prices, I wouldn't be a buyer, considering just in 2018, the stock was a little over $300. Now we're at 1,781. What an insane run for a stock, especially a restaurant stock. I don't know who feels safe in investing in food services and restaurant stocks right now, with the economy being, I think, pretty close to an inflection, or at least pretty close to a breaking point, or at least an inflection point. Starbucks, they're up at $91 a stock. That's down from the all-time high late 2021 or mid 2021. It was $116. So Starbucks, not really looking very strong at this point, and you have to wonder why. If everything's okay, why are so many of these big company stocks, not at or near their all-time high, right? Chipotle also not even at the all-time high right now. They were at 2,139. This was back in June of this year. Now they're at 1780 approximately. So interesting that so many of the indices, all the indices, every index is uh, pretty far off from the all-time highs, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, S&P 500. So people thinking the stock market's strong, well, the stock market's not crashing, but I wouldn't call this strong by any step here. Late 2021, early 2022 was the peak that we saw in most of the indices. Now, one thing back to Paul Krugman here. One thing about the items that he excluded, food, energy, housing, was that housing isn't coming down much at all. There's a few cities. One of those cities is actually Phoenix, Arizona, where home prices are down a bit. They're down about 1 point something percent year over year. Certainly, you would have expected more of a price correction in real estate with mortgage rates doubling over the past year, year and a half. And here's a pretty interesting prediction, in my opinion, here. This is out of Goldman Sachs here. This is out of Business Insider about what Goldman Sachs said. Business Insider, housing has never been this unaffordable, and home prices are only going to keep rising. Goldman Sachs. Wow, interesting. So, with mortgage rates where they are, with people priced out of the market in 99% of the market right now, 99% of cities, Goldman Sachs still says prices are going to go up higher. The bank expects limited supply and borrowers being locked in at lower mortgage rates to drive up prices even higher. The question is, the people that are locked in at low mortgage rates, how long will they be able to stay in their home when you see the cost of living just crushing so many consumers right now, right? So that's something we have to keep an eye on with the housing market, is the inventory, And as this economy continues to deteriorate, more people losing their jobs, that includes more homeowners losing their job, will they be forced to sell? So time will tell, but I think we're headed into the days where we're going to see this deterioration in the economy get much, much more noticeable. Now, something huge could happen, like war. Many people are predicting World War III. The U.S. was sort of already involved in some of these conflicts because of the proxy war type of thing that we're doing with the funding of certain regimes, right? So we have to be very careful, because even though the stock market's not crashing, it's looking pretty stable. It's kind of a dangerous time. I think a lot of people would agree. I know I think it's a dangerous time right now. So I'm not that heavily invested in the stock market. I'm sitting and patiently and waiting with some cash, not much, but a little bit of cash to look to invest. Why don't I have a lot of cash to invest? Well, living in California here, I would like to say I'm such a great investor that I can retire right now, but I'm actually afraid to retire. I'm afraid because I have family that needs me. And if I retire right now, I could make it if I was just by myself. I would be just fine because it would just be me. I would be single, wouldn't have many bills, many expenses. I could literally retire right now at what a lot of people would say would be a very young age for someone to retire. But with family and just the way the world's looking right now, I'm afraid to retire. And I thought about quitting my job and just doing YouTube full time. I could very easily do that if it was just myself. And I could do that right now with the family, but I want to have a big enough nest egg saved up to help my children in the future with their needs. I think they're going to need help with housing and who knows what else. But in general, I always feel people say I worry a lot. Well, I worry about the young people. I worry about my family's young people. I worry about everybody's. I worry about the young people across the world right now because things are very challenging to say the least. Right? Not everybody's thinking about investing or buying low, selling high, and a lot of people are getting very discouraged right now with the cost of housing, including rents. Right? We didn't see rents this high back in the real estate bubble 2007, 2008. So people that sold their home or lost their home had a alternative uh, to go and live someplace cheaper. Renting was supposed to be the cheaper alternative or cheaper option. In this case, nowadays, it's not that cheap. I mean, it's still very, very pricey to rent. All right. So, what do we think about this report today? I'm not happy about Chipotle. Maybe I'll have to boycott Chipotle to protest the rising prices. But boycotts don't work if you're the only one boycotting, do they? I'd have to arrange something pretty big, like a strike. Maybe I'll hold a picket sign outside of Chipotle. No, I don't have time for that. So I'll probably just pay the higher price. All right, everybody. What do you think about this report? Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Hope you're well. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Please give a thumbs up if you like what we talk about. And we'll see you next time, hopefully, right here on this channel. Bull Boom Bear Bust. Out.